Welcome. Today we're diving into a really important legal concept, the Dormant Commerce Clause. Now you've probably heard of the Commerce Clause in the Constitution. It's part of that lets Congress make rules for trades between states, but the Dormant Commerce Clause is a little different.
The Dormant Commerce Clause works around two main ideas. First is non-discrimination. This means that states aren't allowed to pass rules that give their own businesses a special advantage over businesses from other states. Imagine if every state did that. Businesses from other places would have a really hard time competing. Next, there is the principle of undue burden. States can make rules to keep their people safe, but they can't make it so hard to do business that companies in other states can't compete. Basically, things need to be fair. These two principles, non-discrimination and avoiding undue burdens, help guide which states can do and not do with trade laws. Now that you understand the basics, let's look at a famous case to put these ideas to a test. Hunt v. Washington, State Apple Advertising Commission.
Back in 1977, there was a big dispute between Washington State and North Carolina, and believe it or not, it was all about apples. Washington is one of the biggest apple producers in the country, known for its high-quality apples. To help show this quality, Washington even has its own grading system. This system is strict, sometimes even stricter than the USDA labels that most other states use. These grading labels helped Washington's apples stand out. They gave buyers an idea of quality that often went beyond the USDA label. But when North Carolina passed its new law that said only apples with the USDA labels could be sold in the state, this meant that Washington's unique labels had to go, even though they reflected the higher quality Washington growers were so proud of. Washington felt that this law wasn't just about labeling. It made it harder for their apples to stand out in North Carolina stores. They believed the law gave an unfair advantage to local North Carolina growers who didn't face the same restrictions. So Washington decided to take a stand. They argued that North Carolina's rule was unfair and restricted their ability to do business freely in other states. In their view, this law was putting them at a disadvantage and a clear violation of the Dormant Commerce Clause. They took this matter to court, and the case eventually made its way to the Supreme Court. Next, we will hear each side present their argument on this issue.
Your Honors, this law from North Carolina directly hurts our apple growers. Washington apples are known for their high quality, and our grading system is stricter than the USDA's. This law forces us to use a label that doesn't show how great our apples are. North Carolina's law blocks Washington from using our own grading, which has been key in our success. By taking this away, they're giving an advantage to their local growers. This makes it harder for us to compete fairly, which is exactly what the Dormant Commerce Clause is supposed to protect against. We ask the court to recognize this burden on Washington's apples industry and the unfair advantage it gives North Carolina growers.
Your Honor, our goal with this law is simple: consumer protection. The USDA label is known nationwide. It's clear, familiar, and easier for customers to understand. By having a single familiar label, we make sure people know what they're buying. This law isn't about favoring North Carolina apple growers. It's about keeping things fair and easy for consumers. We don't think it's wrong to ask that all apples meet the same standard. It makes the market simpler and protects buyers from confusing labels. Washington argues that we're giving our own growers a boost, but this law applies to every seller equally. We believe it doesn't violate the Dormant Commerce Clause because it's clear standards and not favoring one state.
The Supreme Court ultimately sided with Washington State, ruling that North Carolina went beyond just protecting consumers. The court found that the law created an uneven playing field, making it harder for Washington apples to compete in North Carolina and giving an unfair boost to local apple growers. According to the court, North Carolina's labeling requirement blocked Washington's right to freely market their apples based on their unique grading system. By imposing this rule, North Carolina wasn't just looking out for consumers, it was creating a barrier that made it nearly impossible for Washington's apples to stand out, effectively protecting its own apple industry at Washington's expense. This case made it clear. The Dormant Commerce Clause steps in when states unfairly restrict trade from other states. It's a reminder that, under the Constitution, states can't make rules that harm out-of-state businesses just to protect their own industries. The ruling sent a message about fair competition, saying that states shouldn't use laws to give local businesses an unfair advantage. The Dormant Commerce Clause plays a crucial role in keeping trade balanced across the United States of America. This part of the Constitution acts as a safeguard, making sure states don't pass laws that unfairly favor their own businesses or create obstacles for businesses from other states. Without this protection, states might feel free to pass laws that benefit only their local industries, creating a patchwork of trade barriers that would make it hard for any business to operate nationwide. In the case of Washington apples, the Dormant Commerce Clause helped prevent North Carolina from using a labeling law to give an edge to their own growers. This decision wasn't just about apples. It was about protecting the principles of fair competition and equal access to markets, no matter where the business is based. By keeping these barriers in check, the Dormant Commerce Clause strengthens our nation's economy and ensures that consumers have access to a variety of choices, often at better prices. Cases like this show us why the Dormant Commerce Clause is still relevant today. It allows businesses to compete based on quality and value, not on which state gives them special treatment. From apples to major industries, this clause in our Constitution is a vital part of maintaining an open, fair market across state lines. Thank you for joining us on this journey to understand how a simple clause can have a big impact on the goods we buy every day.